my name's Ash. I'm from a band called Sugar Horse in the UK. And in early October 2024, we'll be releasing our second album, The Grand Scheme of Things, on Pelagic Records.
Beautiful, Ash. Thanks for joining us this evening, brother.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
For sure. So, as you say, Sugar Horse unleashed your new album, The Grand Scheme of Things, on October the 4th. Like, it's still a couple of weeks away, bro. But how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, good. It's been a long time coming. Like the release campaign has been long. We recorded it quite a while ago now, so I'm itching to finally have it out in the world, so folks can hear it, and it's not just me listening to it by myself.
So, can you tell us a bit more about the album from a musical point of view and what you were actually going for with it?
Yeah, yeah. I suppose we our previous releases have been pretty extended, like between 6 and 9 minutes long, and so we thought we'd try and move in a different direction for this record. So all of the songs are kind of a more like pop structure. So there's lots of verses, lots of choruses, and everything tends to be under the 5 minute mark, which like most of our stuff is like we plan stuff out from a like songwriting challenge perspective. So the challenge is fun for us. So like shortening with music as slow as we play it, you get to like you get to like verse two and like 5 minutes have already passed. So it's kind of it was like a big challenge to condense all of that into like a kind of 4.5 minute like poppy song, you know?
Yeah. So how did you actually do that, mate? Because like a lot of people sort of listen and they go, "Oh, it's easy. You just cut out half the song." But if you're cutting out half of the song, you're cutting out the heart and soul of it as well. Like, what's the actual process when you used to being big to go smaller?
I think it's like um I I we all like as a band we tend to be in a hurry to get stuff done. We like the kind of the feeling of like being in the moment, like when you've just written something, you record it straight away afterwards. You don't do too many takes, like everything feels like kind of raw still. We really like that. But to shorten stuff, it takes a kind of editing brain, right? And
Yeah.
editing brain doesn't usually come when you first put something down. When you first put something down, you want it to still be like 12 minutes long because that feels like the right amount of time.
Yeah.
Um, but I guess it comes from like having that initial idea, getting that all down, and then putting it down and picking it back up like a few times afterwards, and like eventually you're like, oh, I could cut here, I could cut here, this could be
Yeah.
shorter, I could get to the point a bit more here, and then you kind of whittle it down like a, I don't know, like making a sculpture or something, you know?
And is that something you're more comfortable with now after having to do it, or do you still hate it?
Yeah, it was definitely difficult the first couple of
Mm.
times, but then it kind of gets in your head a little bit, so you almost start writing with it in mind, which has been nice. So it got a little bit easier towards like the last few tracks we wrote for the record. It definitely became easier than it was at the start.
Yeah. Now, I suppose I remember the course of two albums because this is your second following the 2021 debut, The Live Long After. But that's it's quite a directional shift to take, I guess, from one album to other so early on in your career. Like, was that a risk in a way, I guess? Like, you might leave behind the people that were with you from the first one?
I guess so, but we really like putting out like little short releases. So we have lots of like EPs and singles
Mm.
scattered like before that first album and between these two albums as well. And they're all pretty different, to be honest. Like it's all kind I guess you could hear them as like related to each other, but there's lots. We like to experiment a lot. We don't like doing the same thing over and over again. Like, I like lots of bands that have basically released the same album for 30 years. Like, that's totally cool. It's just not something that like I'm interested in doing,
Yeah.
essentially. So like yeah, that kind of trying to like it almost feels pointless for us to just kind of retread the same ground with the release. Like for a release to be part of the plan for us. It kind of has to be like a new idea, you know.
Yeah. And so speaking about EPs, like I hope I got this right, but your last release was EP Waterloo Teeth, which featured collaborations with 12 different artists over 4 songs. So what sorts of things did you take out of doing that? Like, that's a very ambitious thing to do. What did you take out of that into this album?
Well, we've actually done a couple since then, but
Okay.
yeah, I'll talk about Waterloo Teeth just because it's a bit mad. That that was kind of an idea of like over kind of the pandemic period slash when pandemic was just ending, and it was like it was still kind of difficult to like meet in person.
Okay.
But the good thing about that was everyone was on the internet all the time, and I'm tediously online. I'm a tediously online person, so um, I enjoyed like being able to talk to people all of the time, which is not normally the case. I would normally can only talk to my like fellow like freakish online forum people
Yeah.
at like 2 in the morning on like a Tuesday, you know what I mean? But at that point in time, you could talk to anyone at any point in
Everyone
time.
was online, yeah.
So it was pretty easy to like I say easy. It was kind of a difficult task, but in the grand scheme of doing that, I don't think it would be possible for me to do that now without having like an aneurysm. But back then, you could you could get people on board pretty easily, and they didn't have that much to do, so they were like, "Yeah, I'll try and record a vocal for this. No worries." Like you know, so it was like a challenge. Like we were thinking about doing like a collab record with someone else, and then we were like, oh, lots of people do collab records or like feature
Yeah.
records or splits or whatever, and we were like, well, what's the like logical extreme of doing guests per track? It was an interesting experience. Like I don't think I do that exact same thing again, because as I say, like now it would be tough going, but yeah, it was interesting. I think the thing I took away from it the most was like a couple people that we were working with, because we gave them like carte blanche to do whatever they wanted, and it would like go on the record, right? So a couple people that we sent stuff to, because we had like the bare bones track recorded, we sent it over and they could do whatever they want with it. Some people like literally cut the song up and then deleted bits and then put their bits over, like they basically wrote an entire section. And there's a song called Gutted, for example, that has a middle section that was pretty much entirely written by someone else. And that kind of fearlessness of not just like going in and being like, oh, I have an idea about this, but it might
Yeah,
like
yeah.
tread on what you're doing a little bit. The fearlessness to just be like, I've done my bit, here you go, and like part of the track is literally deleted, was very cool to me. That's the biggest thing that I took away from it, I think.
Yeah. So as an artist, mate, when you do things like that, like, are you more inviting people to collaborate so you can learn off them and grow from what they do, or is it more to make your music better?
It's a bit of both. Like I'd be lying if I said you didn't want to like grab a bit of their talent for free, you know what I mean? And have it applied to your stuff. But also, yeah, you like I don't know. For me, like working with other people makes you see things that you have already done in a different light. Um, and obviously, I like what I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't be like doing it and releasing it into the general population, right? Um, but anything look at makes you look at a piece of art from a different angle and still appreciate it is good is a good thing to me, anyway.
Yeah, cool. The press release calls you music, or calls you guys sludge metal experimentalists. Like, could you define experimenting in music for us? Like, does that mean like you just throw a whole heap of shit at the wall and whatever sticks sticks and whatever falls off doesn't? Does it mean you sit there and you methodically go through things to see what works? Like in the modern age, what is experimentalization?
I can't comment on anyone else, like, because I know loads of people work in very different ways. But for me, it's like quite a thoughtful process where it's not necessarily like, I know lots of people just write by like sitting with a guitar for long periods of time and kind of throwing stuff at the wall and then picking the best ideas, right? I tend to have to like this is so stupid to say out loud, but like visualize an idea before I sit in front of like an instrument or whatever. So I'll hear like another bit of a song, or I'll read a bit of a book or see a film, and that will give me an idea for like we call them like moves in the band, but they're I guess you describe them as moving from like one kind of sound to another, and they're like the most interesting things to me. It's like um of I guess the most obvious example would be um like the last song on the grand scheme of things is called Space Tourist. It's kind of a popish song that moves into a heavy thing, and then kind of out of nowhere goes into this big drone section to end the record, right? And that came from um, thinking about something called a lock groove on a vinyl. So
Okay.
a lock groove, a lock groove is essentially, you can put it anywhere on a vinyl, but it's basically joining the groove of a vinyl. It's normally a spiral, but you
Mhm.
join two of the ends so it forms a circle, so it never stops playing. So it's
Yeah, yeah,
only
yeah.
playing what's on that lock groove for the entire like
Wow.
for eternity,
Mhm.
as long as you can power the turntable, right? And I thought if you could put a rhythmless like chord on that lock groove, then it would sound like there would be no rhythm in it, so you couldn't tell where the start of that loop was or the end of it. So it would literally just sound like an endless drone at the end of a record.
Yeah, well,
And
cool.
so that was the plan. That was the plan to end this record. But obviously that's on vinyl. So how could you do that like on CD or
Mm.
on streaming? Well, you just make it really long so no one can be bothered to listen to the whole thing. So that's why there's so it's like it's like that's what we'd call like a move in the band. It's like, and I think we think of those things like externally to like playing our instruments and then use the instruments to generate them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a very interesting answer. Thanks for that. So you guys are only 2 albums into your career, and you've already gone through so much growth musically. But how much do you reckon you got left in you?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. Like a day, whether that be like a verse or a chorus or like a riff, or sometimes on the like, the big days where I am blessed by some external power, I'll write a whole song in one go. But like most of the time that is utter crap, and then sometimes you get good things, and then over time those good things mount up and you get like a record, or I don't know, you get a sense of like a direction that you can go in, and I think I have a sense of direction for the next thing now, which is a good thing. So that means there's probably going to be a next record, but beyond that I can't comment.
Very cool. One step at a time, buddy.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
good. All right, Ash. Well, thanks very much for your time tonight. The album, The Grand Scheme of Things, is out October 4th. There's a few singles out now if you want to check it out, see what it sounds like. But all in all, mate, sounds like a good album, mate. So best of luck with it.
Well, thanks so much. Thanks for having me.